so it wasn't on the phone. It was online. So I'd log on. That's how people
You were still, all right,
yeah,
still
I mean, it's still the
hours that
same.
you put in,
And
people are calling and Mick Foley's answering.
they don't know that I had a code name. Like it never.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't come up and say WWE champion. Mick.
It was Cactus Foley was your code name. Tsunami Stopper. What was your code name?
Well, if I tell it, then people who may be listening who had me would know that I was their guy. I was late at night. I would go on late, and they really needed the help on the overnights. And my wife.
So people that are being abused, call this hotline to report their abuse.
Yeah, they would go online. They would. It's rain RAINN.org, or the hotline number is I think 800-656-HELP. Online to get a hold of.
Say it again.
1-800-656-HELP.
And that's the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network.
And that way your call will be routed to your nearest local rape crisis center. But what I did was the online hotline, so that people from anywhere in the country or different parts of the world, they could log on and get in touch with a volunteer who would do their best to help them through what is arguably the worst time of their life. You get every people in situations from having been assaulted an hour earlier to decades earlier, and they're just coming around to trying to deal with it. And I took a lot of things from that experience. I wish I could say I was still doing it, but I stopped after 2 years. I probably had a total of 700 hours in over the 2 years. I started taking the cases home, really living with them. I had some really difficult ones, and I was a very, I'll never say, hey, I was a great wrestler or a great writer. I take a lot of pride in my children's books, but I was a really good volunteer. But part of what made me good is that I put a lot of myself into it, and I ended up getting caught up in some of the worst.
Takes a toll.
After a while. It reminded me of the movie The Fighter with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
And there's that famous fight with Mickey Ward where they have the actual commentary. HBO guy who never sounds like he enjoys a fight that he's broadcasting.
Larry Merchant. Jim, Mickey Ward is a guy who looks like he smells like milk, and tonight that milk is curdled. Jim, sure.
And that's almost exactly it was the words to that effect. That this is the worst mismatch he's ever seen, and then Mickey Ward hits the guy with one body shot, and he wins the title. Like one body shot.
Drops Gotti.
And drops it. Was it Gotti or was it someone before that when he won the title?
The Fighter's based on. No, they stopped it before the Gotti fight.
Stopped before the Gotti fight.
I apologize.
But that was me as a volunteer, like blocking blows, dodging, like trying, keeping myself emotionally
Were you giving
healthy.
advice to these people?
Yeah.
And were they children or just anybody?
Well, it ranges from people who were young children to adults.
At what point? I mean, is the qualification for giving advice? I mean, how do they know you're not going to give horrible advice?
Well,
you need to go in and you need to choke your stepfather while he's sleeping.
Let me go back to my fighter analogy.
How you doing on flex cuffs?
Come on, Jay. I'm talking. The punch, you'd be like you'd ward off the blows, and then all of a sudden here comes this body shot, just emotionally dropped me to my knees, and it can be really difficult. I did the 40-hour training, and I'd been a pretty large donor.
That's
and
what
been
I was
with
getting to. Is you do a 40-hour training session,
right? And you got it, and you have to do, you go 40 hours online, and then you go for a 2-day session. You're not getting bad people to come.
Of course, RAIN, the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, they're not going to allow somebody that did do the 40 hours to go man the phones. They have a good vetting process.
Exactly.
Is what I'm getting at. Basically, I'm trying to express to the listeners,
the people you deal with,
most legit charity
that
you could possibly get hooked up with.
You're getting great people to help you out. They give you the 40 hours, and there's like 16 hours of in-person training, and then you do a couple of practice sessions. So everyone's got a different style when they go on. But I asked our head of marketing. I said, how many of the volunteers are men my age? And she said, including you. And I said, yeah. And she said, one. I said, one? Like, my greatest strength as a volunteer was that I was really the parent they should have been talking to, but couldn't, because there's such shame surrounding the issue. And so in so many cases, being a good listener, letting them get what they have out, losing judgment. I might have qualities that make me a jerk sometimes in other parts of my life, but when I went on that hotline, I tried, and I prayed when let me the best of myself be out there, and I really. I did the best I could to help people through the worst moments of their life, and some of the feedback that Rain would get about this, the volunteer that was
Mr.
me,
X,
it was,
wrestler number 2,
was really, it was really like almost, it was really humbling. Yeah. So,
were you abused as a kid?
I was not. No, and that's why. But that's part of what I think the value of my being involved, the part of what made it so valuable is that it shows that this is not just an issue. You would say, okay, rape, obviously that's a big issue, but it's an issue for survivors and women. And you don't usually win battles with your likely allies. So I got involved, and it's probably the best thing I've done. Most important. I consider it as important as anything I've ever done in wrestling, writing, everything. Yeah.
You said a key word in that, though, Mick, and that's shame. And that we've talked on this podcast a lot with other comics, and we've had the drummer from the Black Crowes, Charlie Sheen, Jay Leno, and we've really delved into mental illness, and we've delved into abuse, and it seems like shame. This is like an editorial that I welcome you, please, to comment on, because I'm a blathermouth. It seems like shame, especially with guys, shame is really the number one buffer between getting help and not. And we spend so much time on more stories like with bipolar or panic attacks or depression going, don't stop. It's machismo bullshit that keeps you from reaching out and going, I had a real hard time with a stepdad or an authority figure. And that it's interesting you said the word shame. So I guess anybody listening know that there's always help out there because of people like Mick Foley, because of Rain, because of Tori Amos. It's astounding once you put your guard down and put your machismo and check it at the door and get your shame the fuck away from you, how much help and open arms are out there waiting to take you in. So that's my editorial briefly about that. I want to ask you more wrestling stuff. I've always been obsessed with guys that wear masks. You, of course, wore a mask, but we knew it was Mick Foley.
Right.
You were Mankind. But, like, back in the day, you need a refill on that, honey?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, thanks. I was going to hand you the microphone and get
it
myself.
Whoa. Hold on a minute, buddy. Dave
Hold on there,
Hot
Shot. Can you name that movie? Okay, Hot Shot.
That's Stripes. That's Sergeant Hulka.
There you go.
Uncle Hulka's going to put his toe up your ass. Chicks dig me because I rarely wear underwear, and when I do, it's usually something erotic. My hobbies are fast cars and fast women. That's what my friends in my car club call me the cruiser.
The dork, right? We used to talk about.
Son, there ain't no draft no more. There was one?
There was one.
It's a great line. There was one?
That was one of the lines we used to talk about all the time backstage. And so Stone Cold, you could actually watch him when he goes out there. On a number of occasions, he would answer it by going, "Okay, Hot Shot."
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's some inside info. Stone Cold's doing Sergeant Hulka in his interviews. Have you ever seen the YouTube video Stone Cold E.T.?
No.
It will quickly become your favorite. It's just some guy in an E.T. mask at a White Castle drive-thru, and he does his whole order as Stone Cold Steve
There's
Austin.
a guy who does an order as Mankind also. It could be the same guy.
I hope
Going
so.
through a drive-thru as Mankind.
It's one of the best things
good.
I've ever seen. Like, usually the ones that people send you, I'm like, that's pretty funny. It really wasn't worth my time. This was one where I, lost my mind.
If it's the same guy, it's high quality. May I take your order, please? I think I'd like an order of fries, please.
Can I get it? Hell yeah. I can't do Stone Cold. It's my wrestlers that wear a mask when I was a kid.
Yeah.
We were all Rasmussen, I think, was one. Randy Rasmussen. We were all, regardless, the Masked Superstar.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Going like 86.
Yeah, I love the
We
Masked
were all
Superstar.
convinced that it was another guy in the stable that was just moonlighting as like Vince would have, say Salvatore Bellomo put on a mask and be the Masked Superstar. two for the price of one. And that's why every time, you don't really see it so much anymore, like a camel clutch, and you get rid of the camel clutch because you get distracted because you're obsessed with pulling the guy's mask off. And when you're watching it on TV, you're like, is it? Oh, you didn't get the mask off.
Well, there are a lot of different reasons for wearing a mask. In some cases, that was the case. When I was Super Zodiac number 2, in
they ran out of names
in Dallas. Yeah, they had a Zodiac number 1. Killer Tim Brooks had left the company. Instead of hiring somebody new, they just asked me to put on a hood and wrestle twice a night. And I thought it was something where everybody was in on it. Especially, I had a scaffold match in Fort Worth that didn't end well, and I ended up breaking my wrist. Instead of falling on my head, I put my wrist out and hand out and broke my wrist.
Well, I think you went about it the right way. Instead of falling on my head, I landed on my wrist.
I put out the hand, yeah.
Gorilla Monsoon, you don't want him saying that you fractured your... It
was the navicular bone. It was
the
lingering...
Gorilla Monsoon head thing we were talking about?
The external octuberal protuberance, yeah. I didn't want to land on that, darn it. And so now I'm a guy, and I've got a distinctive walk, body shape.
You're like, how do they not know it's me?
I got the long hair coming through the eye holes, and now I've got a cast. I'm working twice a night. I'm working with a cast, and at that point, that's when I realized like they really thought
the power of suggestion.
that I was two. They really wanted to make fans believe I was two different people. But the mask got a long tradition, especially in Mexico. That's guys do lucha libre movies where they don't remove their mask. Having your mask removed in Mexico, talk about shame.
It's a Shaolin monk getting his ponytail cut.
Exactly, it's what it is. Amish guy getting his beard shaved.
You don't want to see those guys fight. They're great with wood. I've been making this with my lathe for this occasion. It's an ore crack. So how many does that happen? So it happened to you on the level we're talking about, like Mass Superstar. Is that another? You don't have to name names. Is that another guy?
No,
although we do name names on more stories.
He was a well-known guy. I don't think he cares if
my
people
father
know
was
him.
convinced he was a guard from the New York Jets. Some guy. He goes, I swear to God, that's so and so from the Jets.
He was good. He was a really good wrestler. But Bill Eadie was his name. He went on to be one of the super machines. But there's a famous picture of Mr. Wrestling 2 headlocking Lillian Carter when she was the mother of the president. And she went down to wherever they were wrestling in Georgia, the amphitheater. She was a huge fan, and Mr. Wrestling 2 was one of the biggest stars in the business. Like, they took a lot of pride in wearing that mask. There's a guy named the Destroyer, even though people know his name is Dick Beyer, and he's in his 80s now. He still comes to our
So they
shows.
weren't other guys. They were just guys that wrestled with masks.
Yeah, and Dick Beyer still shows up with his mask on, even though he's in his 80s. And on one hand, it's like, you look ridiculous, but on the other hand, he's the Destroyer, and that's the way
You're
he
kind
sees
of glad.
himself.
It's like seeing Kiss without the makeup.
Exactly.
You're like,
Yeah,
bro, go back. I don't
yeah.
want to see Ace Frehley without that. He's weird looking. You're known as the hardcore legend. That's a title you share with Terry Funk.
Yes.
Why not you get the old man out of retirement? You and Terry Funk, pay-per-view, the only match of the night. I'll do commentary for it. You guys wrestle it out. There can only be one hardcore legend.
I believe we
can't share a nickname. There's only one Air Jordan. There's only one Magic Johnson.
Look, Jay, I wanted to be known as a legend, and I thought the only way I could get there was to give myself a nickname that included the word legend in it.
Right, but the hardcore legend, you share that nickname.
Well, fans have shared it, have used it on both of us.
I'm offering you a business opportunity here, Mick Foley.
You don't want to see me and Terry Funk wrestle anymore.
That's my second question. Why not a senior circuit? Right there in my notes. Yeah, there's senior golf.
Yeah.
How great would it be to see the Boogie Woogie Man?
There is a senior circuit.
And the Orton brothers. Get a living Von Erich.
Now, look, I'm trying so hard not to give the punchline to this because I know it will hurt the feelings of people I like. If I said there is a senior circuit, it's known as
blank.
Yeah,
TNA.
I didn't say that
because when I watch TNA, I'm like, damn, Hogan, you're an old dude. That's a leg drop. I like the leg drop. You used to start like, you crisscross the ring 4 times, and then you wave your arm, you jump straight up in the air. Now you just kind of fall like an old guy going into a Barca lounger.
Well, Hulk's
it's still a heavy leg.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong, Mick. We love Hulk Hogan and all that he's done for Vince and the WWE family and now the TNA family. But we're here for Mick Foley. WrestleMania was so successful
Yeah.
that they're doing it again. Mick Foley's going to be in WrestleMania 2 in April 2013. I can't believe they're doing a second one.